Now, if we want to get into it, let's talk about the referees.
WNBA needs to protect its players. Caitlin Clark deserves better. Let's check out this footage right here.
Her snap out of it, but so many of her teammates are looking up to her. She really is a big leader on this team, even if she's not a veteran. So she has to find a way, even if she's not making shots, to make sure that she stays composed and stays in the game the best that she possibly can. Now,
why does it feel like Caitlin Clark has to survive every game instead of just play in it? She's not just battling defenders, she's battling a system that's supposed to protect her. Game after game, she takes elbows to the ribs, gets shoved to the floor, slapped on the wrist, grabbed on cuts, and nothing. No whistle, no technicals, no accountability. The officials just look away like it never happened. And let's be clear, this isn't happening to other players. This isn't happening to the vets. It's happening to one player, Caitlin Clark, the same player who brought millions of new eyes to the WNBA, the same player who made a league that was struggling for attention suddenly matter. She didn't just change the game, she rescued it.
And he's like, no, I'm not looking. No. And you know bad refs, because again, I live in a country where there are good refs and the good refs know who they are, but the standard of refereeing is absolutely shocking. And like I've seen referees be talking to coaches, and then mid-conversation, just when they know.
But instead of protecting her, the league stood by while she got hammered on the court. And the referees? They've practically declared open season. There are clips, actual footage, of refs turning their backs while Clark's being fouled. Full-on contact that would get blown dead in the NBA, or even college. But in the WNBA? Crickets, no calls, no help.
Griner doesn't get the call. And all of a sudden, we're pretty close. This has been as close as it's been.
What kind of message does that send? That the league's biggest star isn't worth a whistle? That the player bringing in record-breaking money is just another body on the court? The same people who plaster her face on billboards and sell out arenas because of her are the ones letting her get dragged through every game.
Investigating whether there were noises made that hurt Angel Reese or any of the Chicago Sky players. How did we get here? I literally started thinking about...
And fans, they're not dumb. They see it. They're recording it, posting it, calling it what it is, a bias, a refusal to give Clark the protection any other player of her caliber would get. Even Indiana Fever's head coach, Stephanie White, couldn't stay quiet anymore. She said it plainly, her team's not getting the respect they deserve. And Clark, she's at the center of it all, getting fouled, shoved, dropped to the floor, and begging for calls that never come. This isn't physical basketball. This isn't playoff grit. This is neglect. And it's starting to look intentional. Because if it were anyone else, if it were a player the league had decided to protect, those fouls would be called. Those refs would be held accountable. But Caitlin Clark? She's expected to adjust. She's told to toughen up. Why is it always on her to change? Why is the league so comfortable letting its most valuable player get roughed up like it's a bar fight? Why are the officials acting like she's not even on the floor? And then came the injury, the price of silence, the cost of pretending everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. But that wasn't the end of it. They said she was tough. They said she could handle the pressure. But nobody warned us what would happen when the league decided to look the other way. Caitlin Clark is officially sidelined with a quad strain, out for at least 2 weeks. But let's not pretend this came out of nowhere. This wasn't some random tweak during warm-ups. This injury was earned through weeks of being shoved, hacked, body-checked, and ignored by the very officials hired to keep the game fair. The physical abuse she took wasn't just occasional, it was constant. And worse, it was sanctioned. Refs let it happen. Game after game, Clark hit the hardwood hard, no whistle, no foul, no help. And now, she's off the court, the face of the league, benched. But here's the thing, it wasn't just the injury that set fans off. It was everything that led up to it. All those missed calls, all those glances she gave the refs, practically begging for some kind of protection. All those moments she got knocked down and just had to get back up, because the whistle never came. What makes it worse, she never missed a game in college, not one. She played 139 straight at Iowa and every game with Indiana, until now. It wasn't a freak accident, it was a slow breakdown, the result of weeks of silence while the league cashed in and let her take the hits. And then, when she finally went down, silence. No statement, no concern. Just an injury report and a shrug from the same league that plastered her face on every poster. Suddenly, the WNBA's biggest star is missing, and the league pretends it's business as usual. But fans aren't buying it. The video clips are everywhere. Replays showing full-on contact, obvious fouls, and refs either turning away, or worse, smirking as they let it go. People are calling it what it is, a setup. A system built to profit off her talent but not protect her health. Her injury isn't just a loss for the Fever, it's a wake-up call for the entire league. And what comes next? That's what has everyone on edge. It wasn't just the missed calls. It was who was missing them. Fans started asking questions, and what they uncovered was beyond shocking. Many of the referees calling WNBA games aren't seasoned professionals. They're barely out of high school officiating, some with no real experience beyond a local gym. No G League grind, no NCAA playoff battles, just a fast-track pass straight into the biggest moments of their careers at our expense. Imagine this. The most hyped player in WNBA history is on the floor, bringing in millions of new viewers, and the people in charge of protecting the game barely know how to manage a jump ball. No wonder chaos is breaking out. These aren't just questionable calls, they're level mistakes made on a professional stage. And while Clark gets slammed to the ground with no whistle, fans are supposed to trust that these refs are making split-second decisions under pressure. Please, they're guessing. They're learning on the job, while players like Caitlin Clark pay the price with their bodies. You don't put an amateur behind the wheel of a speeding car. But the WNBA did exactly that, handed over control to underqualified refs in the middle of a league boom, and now they're wondering why things are falling apart. But here's where it gets even worse. These refs aren't just inexperienced, they're being coached behind the scenes, fed instructions from a hidden committee made up of team executives, coaches, and stakeholders. A group that decides how physical the game should be, what calls to emphasize, and who gets the benefit of the doubt. It's not about fair play anymore, it's about control. And guess who's caught in the crossfire? Caitlin Clark. The league didn't just fail to train its refs, it allowed them to be puppets for people with agendas. And now fans are watching games that feel more like a setup than a sport. But that wasn't the whole story, because what this secret committee was doing behind the curtain would leave everyone stunned. Here's where things go from careless to corrupt. The people blowing the whistle? They're not calling the game by the rulebook. They're following orders, quiet ones, handed down by a group you've probably never heard of, the WNBA's Competition Committee. This isn't some neutral board of referees. It's a mix of team coaches, general managers, and league stakeholders. People with clear agendas. People who benefit when certain teams win, and when certain players lose. And they're the ones telling referees how physical they want games to be, what calls to prioritize, and, most importantly, who gets the benefit of the doubt. It's not about fairness, it's about control. Think about that. The same voices building strategies in the locker room are secretly shaping how games are called on the court. They don't just influence outcomes, they practically script them. And while Clark gets hammered with no foul, other players breathe near contact and get a whistle. This isn't a glitch in the system, it is the system. The committee isn't reviewing mistakes, they're creating conditions where bias thrives. And now we know why Clark can't get a fair shake. It's not just bad officiating, it's a coordinated setup. The league wants physical play, Clark gets mauled. The league wants parity, her stardom gets suppressed. Behind closed doors, they've built a playbook to keep things balanced, not by talent, but by tactics. And while they claim it's for competitive balance, fans aren't buying it. You don't grow a league by silencing the only player that's actually moving the needle. You don't build a future by undermining the one person bringing it to life. But that's exactly what's happening. And what this committee allowed next would light a fire under the entire league. How do you treat the most important player in your league? If you're the WNBA, apparently, like a problem. Caitlin Clark didn't just bring attention, she rescued the league from irrelevant. She filled arenas, spiked viewership, and had people who never watched women's basketball buying tickets and memorizing schedules. Yet every time she steps on the court, it feels like she's walking into enemy territory. Instead of being celebrated, she's getting punished. Opponents aren't just defending her, they're targeting her. And what do the refs do? Absolutely nothing. No calls, no protection, just a cold, blank stare while she gets knocked to the floor again and again. And the league? Silent. You'd think a player responsible for a historic spike in revenue, literally 26.5% of all league economic activity, would be treated like gold. But Clark is being handled like she's disposable, like the league is fine without her. Spoiler, it's not. This isn't just about rough play. This is about the message it sends. The WNBA built its 2024 season around Clark. She's on every commercial, every promo, every highlight reel. But when the whistle should be in her favor, nothing. When she's fouled on a game-deciding possession, play on, the disrespect is blatant. She's treated like an outsider in a league that owes her everything. And it's not just the refs ignoring it. Other players mock her. Media figures throw shade. Coaches act like she hasn't earned her spot, despite shattering records at Iowa and now bringing record crowds to their arenas. It's jealousy. It's resentment. And worst of all, it's tolerated. But what happens when the league's only real draw is constantly attacked and left unprotected? What happens when she finally gets injured? We already know the answer. We saw it. And we're watching the fallout unfold in real time. And just when fans thought it couldn't get worse, the cameras caught something that would send social media into a frenzy. The internet doesn't forget, especially when millions of eyes are watching. It started with a clip. Caitlin Clark drove to the rim, took a clear body shot, hit the floor hard, and nothing. Not a single whistle. The ref? He had his back turned. That moment exploded across social media. Fans couldn't believe what they saw, and they weren't alone. Players, analysts, even former officials started asking the same question. What is going on out there? But it wasn't a one-time thing. More clips started surfacing. Replays showing Clark getting shoved, hit, tripped, and every time, the refs just stood there. Or worse, walked away. These weren't borderline plays. These were obvious fouls caught in high def from every angle. And yet, game after game, she was left to fend for herself. The outrage spread fast. Comment sections flooded with "Protect CC." Hashtags took off. Major outlets picked it up. And suddenly, the WNBA had a problem it couldn't bury. This wasn't just about missed calls, it was about what those missed calls represented. Fans weren't just upset for Clark, they were furious at a league that hyped her up, sold out arenas because of her, then sat back while she got picked apart. It felt personal, like the refs weren't just bad, they were sending a message. And that message was loud and clear. No matter how many fans she brings in, no matter how much money she generates, Caitlin Clark will not be protected like the other stars. Even casual fans, people watching their first WNBA game because of Clark, noticed something was off. The physicality was one thing. The silence after? That's what lit the fire. The league thought they could brush it off, but every viral clip made it worse. Every ignored foul added fuel. And every time a ref turned their back, fans got louder, angrier, more organized. This wasn't just a controversy anymore, it was a movement. At first, it was just the fans sounding the alarm. But when the coaches and players on the floor started speaking out, that's when the cracks in the system got too big to ignore. Stephanie White, head coach of the Indiana Fever, had enough. After watching her team get battered game after game, with Caitlin Clark taking the worst of it, she finally said what everyone else was too afraid to: the officiating is out of control. In her own words, it's been egregious. And honestly, that's putting it lightly. But she wasn't alone. Kelsey Mitchell, one of Clark's own teammates, didn't just back her up, she warned her. Subtle, but real. She told Caitlin to listen to her body, because even inside the locker room, players knew what was happening. Clark wasn't just playing through pain, she was being forced to. And then there's Brittany Griner, a seasoned vet, a household name. She walked out of a halftime interview to confront the refs. She couldn't stay quiet either. That's not drama, that's desperation. This kind of public criticism isn't normal. Players usually keep things in-house. Coaches avoid taking aim at the officials. But this was different. They were done pretending the calls were fair. They were done pretending Caitlin Clark was being treated like any other star. The league tried to brush it off, blame the new fans, say it's just physical basketball. But when veterans, players, and coaches across the board start raising the same issue, it's no longer just noise. It's a warning. Because here's the truth, if players feel like they're not protected, they stop trusting the system. If coaches feel like the whistle is biased, they stop coaching to win. And when stars like Clark become targets while the refs look the other way, the whole foundation starts to crack. But that wasn't the end. Because next, the pressure started spilling out of the arena and into the one place the league can't ignore: courtrooms and cameras. This isn't just about missed calls anymore. This is about what kind of league the WNBA wants to be. Right now, they're standing at a crossroads. One path leads to real change: rebuilding the officiating system, holding referees accountable, and protecting the stars who actually built the momentum. The other path? It leads to collapse. Because if the league keeps ignoring what's happening, it's not just Caitlin Clark who gets hurt, it's everyone. The fans are watching. The media is circling. Legal teams are already whispering. And the WNBA is running out of time to fix the mess it created. They have one job: protect their players, especially the ones bringing in the money, the viewership, and the future. Clark is that player. And yet, She's been left hanging, beaten up on the court, dismissed off of it, and sidelined while the league plays defense for the refs. You don't get to sell out arenas off her name, run her 35 minutes a game, and then pretend like the silence around her treatment is acceptable. That's not leadership, that's cowardice. And the longer the league waits to act, the louder the backlash will grow. Fans aren't going back to sleep. Players aren't going back to silence. The league's credibility is hanging by a thread, and if they let it snap, they'll lose everything Clark helped build. This moment will define the future of the WNBA. Either they protect their stars, or they prove they never deserved them in the first place.